how catalytic converters work, but I did. But essentially, I know that you all, and feel free to ask questions, interrupt me. But I know that you all had some interest in the podcast specifically. And for those that don't know me, I know I've met most of you, but I am the public information officer for the Greenville Police Department. I've been here a little over 8 years now. Prior to that, I actually worked in television. I was at Channel 9 as a reporter and anchor prior to this. And then prior to that, worked in Baltimore at the CBS affiliate WJZ as a producer and writer. So I do have a television background, not a podcasting background, though. To be honest, I didn't know much about podcasting until I started on this project. It's become a very popular platform for a lot of people. I know that a lot of people are into talk radio, and this is kind of the new talk radio. You can listen to it as you go on your phone, in the car. And we had gotten a couple requests for a podcast, and actually some officers came up with the initial concept. And essentially it's a long form discussion. So we are on the news quite a bit, but as you all know, a newscast itself is only about 30 minutes long. And of that newscast, if we get a story, we may get a minute and a half of that newscast to tell our story and what's going on. So this was really a long form discussion, something that was off the cuff, unfiltered, so to speak, and a chance to really humanize the officers and give the public a little bit of insight and an inside look at who's in the department, the different units we have, not just the people, but we'll feature different topics too. So, so far we've had 5 or 6. I think tomorrow will be our 6th episode. That'll be featuring Chief Holtzman. But we've had a wide variety of people featured on each episode so far. They range from about 30 minutes to an hour long. And like I said, they cover a variety of topics, but we've been impressed. We didn't know actually how it would take off or how many people would be listening, but we are pleased that so far we've had close to 1,000 downloads of the podcast. We have listeners all the way in Australia, Singapore, England. Wow. We can track all that. So that's been really neat to see just the audience, because only about 30% of the audience actually is here in Greenville, which I found very interesting. So we're reaching a wide audience with this, and it's definitely a platform that people use. You can stream it on I know there were some questions Sergeant Stoffelbach asked about how do you listen to it. So we've been sharing it across all of our social media platforms for the PD. It's called Buzzsprout. It's just that's the name of our hosting site where we actually upload the files. So you can listen to it on there, but you can also listen to the podcast on any available podcast or streaming app. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, you name it, you can listen to it. It's available on all of those apps. And you can stream it right on your phone or your computer, whatever is most convenient for you. But yes, I've worked closely. He couldn't make it. I know he really wanted to be a part of this, but Officer Nagyo has been working closely with me on this project. He is one of our recruiters, very well-spoken and articulate guy. If you have not met him before, previously he was a K-9 officer for us. So I'm sure that you've seen him probably in some demos over the years. But he's been a huge help and a really engaging co-host. So it's been fun to work on this project with him. Have any questions?
Yeah, so just
kind of rambled.
For the non-tech person, that would be me. How am I getting this podcast again?
So you can either go to our Facebook or Twitter, whatever social media you use, and I post a link every week to it. And so you can play it right from your device through there. Or if you have certain podcast apps like or music apps like Spotify or Apple Podcasts on your phone, You can also play it through those platforms. Okay. Thank you.
How do we get it through Facebook now? Could you elaborate?
So I post the link. It usually airs every Wednesday. We air a new episode. So every week there is a new episode that I post, and it's just in a link form, and you can click on it and listen to it in its entirety. That link will actually take you to a list of all the podcasts. So if you missed one week or haven't caught up or even want to revisit a previous episode, if there's a certain person or topic that you're interested in listening or learning
What's
more.
the Facebook site?
Our Greenville NC Police Department is the Facebook name.
Greenville NC Police Department.
Yeah. So if you type that into the search bar when you're on Facebook, we're also on Instagram, Twitter, and our username on there is Greenville PD.
For those accomplish that.
That's great. So, for instance, just any example you want to pick, what do you tell people about? I'm sure it's something different every week, but what would be a typical topic?
It is. Right now, we've been featuring the people of the police department pretty heavily, because I think that you don't typically have access to all the different detectives and specialized units. And so we tried to focus on positions too, because we are using it as a recruiting tool that we get a lot of interest in from the general public or at career fairs. For example, we've had the forensics unit featured. We had our State Bureau of Investigations task force officer featured. The previous episode was Detective Nikki Verdon, who, as
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, you may remember.
How's she doing?
She's good. Unfortunately, that accident has ended her career in law enforcement, so she won't be coming back to the PD. But we had a really nice discussion on there, just kind of recapping her career, and she keeps a really positive attitude given all the circumstances. So yeah, right now we've primarily featured people. Tomorrow's episode will be Chief Holtzman, as I said. You tune into that. Hi, Chief. I saw you're here.
Typically, about how long do they last?
Anywhere between, I'd say, 30 minutes to about an hour or so. We try to keep them at a max around an hour so we don't lose too many people, but that's about the longest episode we've
had. Are people commenting during it, asking questions, posting questions, or is it just a presentation and no public interaction?
It's an audio file that you can listen to at your leisure. So you can pause and restart it.
Pre-recorded, it's not live.
Exactly. It's not live, but we have gotten a lot of feedback, and we were pleased that we got emails from people that we didn't know, because like I said, we didn't know how it would be received initially. I see that. So we've had quite a few emails from the public, and one of the ideas we've had is even just a question and answer episode from members of the public, questions they may have, and answering all those different questions.
So we would say Greenville Police is a family affair.
Yeah, It definitely is, isn't it?
So one thing I'll point out real fast that Kristen won't say anything, and if Brian was here, same thing, is they literally, Kristen, spitballing, the episode's 40 minutes to an hour, but you've got triple that in recording, editing, uploading. Like, there's so much behind the scenes, correct?
That's true. Yes. So there is a lot that I learned a lot about just the entire process, honestly. Like I said, I wasn't a big podcast listener, honestly, previously, but I know a lot of people and have a lot of friends and family members who are. But we actually we started this process about 2 years ago, believe it or not, just the research of it, and traveled to Wilmington PD. They had a podcast at the time. And so they were very gracious in giving us some insight on how to get it kicked off. And we researched equipment, ordered all the equipment, which is essentially just 2 microphones that plug into our our laptop, and we have some recording software. So we record it all in-house. I then take that recording and typically edit. It's not very edited. I want to say it's really in a raw format, but we try to keep it, like I said, to a minimum of about an hour. So sometimes we cut out a
I
little
mean,
bit.
a maximum of an hour.
I'm sorry, a maximum of an hour. So sometimes we cut out just content if it gets repetitive or we're short on time. But yeah, it's a process. So we edit it all in-house, and then we researched how to actually air it. So now that we have these recordings, how do we put it out there to the world? And that's all through, as I said, a hosting site, which essentially you upload the file to this website, you create an account, and then they stream it across all the different podcast platforms and listening platforms. So yes, there is a lot that goes into each episode, and we probably were a bit ambitious to start by having one a week, but we've been able to keep up. And we'll see at some point we may, if we start running out of ideas or need to taper that back a little bit, we may do that. But for right now, there's a new episode each week, each Wednesday of each week.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
The only thing I don't know if input from the public as to what subject matter should be matters. But one thing that I think everybody's interested in are cases that are solved. You know, we obviously wouldn't want you to cover an ongoing case, you know, because you have to keep your cards close to your chest until you're in court and court's all done, appeals are done and all that. But there was one several years ago that actually came. She was a detective. Gosh, I forgot her name, but she was married to the Pitt County sheriff, elected sheriff, and she went through a murder that was solved, and how they tracked all the clues down and all of that, and you know, things like that. People are like glued to.
Was it Connie Elks?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And we have featured a couple detectives, and they have talked about impactful cases in their career. But yeah, that would be a interesting episode for sure. And especially if we could get some even retirees that may be able to come back and talk about some of their cases, or we've considered even featuring some cold cases, although we don't have too many here. I think that's always of interest to people as well.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say, and we've got a lot of those.
Yeah, very competent detectives, fortunately.
We don't want, yeah.
But yeah, if anybody else has any input or ideas, that's what we thrive on. We want to hear from you, and we want to feature topics and people that you want to hear from. So we're certainly open to that. And I do thank the chief too for letting us he kind of just said, go for it, and gave us a lot of freedom and flexibility to do this. And I think it's been really well received, not just by the general public, but I think it's been really therapeutic for the officers too, because they don't typically get this kind of platform or opportunity to talk about themselves and show a different side to themselves, the real personal side.
And it's
Christian,
good.
I have a question.
Okay.
Was the 12 Days of Christmas part of the podcast that was aired on YouTube?
No, you mean the singing? It was not.
Yes.
So that was cute, wasn't it? That was.
It was.
I cannot take any credit for that. Kelvin, the videographer for the city of Greenville, he told me he wanted to come over and record a Christmas message. Well, I had no clue. He mentioned nothing about singing, so he sprung that on everyone. But I was impressed. Some people had some.
I was very impressed too, and congratulations on your son, and keep up the good work. It's nice seeing you.
Oh, it's so nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I wanted to just interject something that not everybody maybe knows. Our chief has always been someone who would take on new ideas and say, go for it. Like shots fired or different things that, anyway, I think that's a really strong, positive thing about the chief.
Thank you, Diane. If I can say something real quick, I want to thank Kristen for taking on this project. It's a bit, I think it was out of her comfort zone, but when she gets in there and she didn't start out with me. She started out with a bunch of other officers, and I was the nervous one when I went in there to do it. So she actually had to settle me down. Yeah, I just have so much to talk about, and it turned out to be a fantastic. She talked about therapeutic. It's great to be able to just tell a story about yourself. Why are you doing this? What are you here for? And how do you want to serve a community? We haven't been able to do that in the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I think that really comes out in these podcasts. And I really encourage people to listen to them, because you're going to hear some genuine heart coming out in these podcasts. So outstanding work, Kristen, putting this together. She's been editing it a lot of hours behind the scenes. And I'm impressed at the quality of the content and just the production of it. It's top shelf. So I encourage you to watch it or listen to it.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, no, it's been a good experience. And I think one thing that will really stand out to you too is just given the current climate and so much negativity really surrounding law enforcement, I think it's really refreshing to see all these officers who are still so positive and keep such a great attitude and are just extremely passionate about what they do. And so that's really refreshing to hear. And I think it's not only refreshing to the public, but it's motivating for the other officers as well.
So one thing I'll do, hopefully it'll help, is I'll get with Kristen later this week and make a cheat sheet of links and websites and social media, and I'll get it to Billy Joe. She can send it to everybody, and then everybody send it on there. I think that would be awesome. Another thing too, that as I understand, as I come closer to the end, Kristen and Nagu are creating what I call an oral history that for the most part will always be there. So when these younger officers get to the end of their career, if they want to reflect, they can go back and hear the young police officer. So I like it. I think it's a very good oral history that we'll always have access to. So I do appreciate Kristen and Brian for heading this project on.
We thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing what you produce in the future.
Thank you. And yes, please send me, feel free to email me, khunter@greenvillenc.gov. If you have any feedback or ideas for the show, we're happy to do that. And I will provide a link to Sergeant Stoffbach and Billy Joe to send out to all of you. I can provide one simple link that will take you to all of the episodes so you can pick and choose what you want to listen to.
So that was khunter@greenvillenc.gov.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Appreciate that.
Miss Kulik, Miss Napal, any other, Mr. Bass, Miss Betsy Ray, any other, Mr. Davis, I see you showed up. If you don't have anything else for Kristen, I'll let her go to.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we'll
Thank you.
continue on. Yes, thank you, Kristen.
Great to see all of you. Thank you.
Good job.
Hey,
Okay.
Donald. Whoa, you hear that echo? Is
Yes.
that me or somebody else that's echoing?
Probably if everybody can mute maybe and unless you're talking. Yeah, I think that may help.
Am I echoing? No, good.
No,
All right,
sir. Go ahead.
Donald. So now we're doing a reset.
Okay.
Now we would have called the official roll and open everything up. Would that be correct,
Okay,
sir?
yeah,
Correct.
let's
Yep.
call the roll again. Do you mind?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. So, Miss Betsy Ray, do you want me or do you want to call the roll?
I can call it. I've got it right
Okay.
in front of me.
All right.
Addison Bass or Sonny. I see him. We're calling the roll. Mr. Bass? So anybody else want to try?
He's just muted. He's unmuting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Roll. There you are. We're calling the roll. I see you're here. Addison Bass. Just here. I'm here. Betsy Ray. Diane Kulik.
Here.
Gary Davis.
Here.
Kevon Gaynor. I don't think he's here. Can anybody tell? And Carol Naipaul.
Here.
And we have a
Yeah.
quorum. All right. I'm getting all kinds of feedback and echo. I don't know what to do. Feedback and echo. I don't know what to do. Should I go get my tech?
Yeah, so probably if everybody can mute until, and then we got to all be muting and unmuting. That's probably the only way to stop the
Okay.
echo.
Okay. Well, while I'm talking, I guess I won't unmute. Okay. The next thing is approval of the agenda. And I would like to see if someone will make a motion to amend the agenda to include election of officers as one of our bullet points.
Ms.
Unmute,
Cooley,
Diane. I think Diane's trying to talk.
Okay, can
Yeah.
you hear me now? So I
Yes.
make a motion that we amend the agenda.
Okay. All in favor and, or no, we have to do it by roll call, right?
just so we're clear, to amend the agenda to include the election of
Election.
officers.
Correct.
Correct.
And is that motion also to include that be moved to which bullet point?
Next.
Okay, so
Just-
before the approval of the agenda. So the motion is on the floor to amend the agenda to add the election of officers to the bullet point immediately after the approval of minutes. Is that fair? Is that a fair recitation?
We could, well,
your
I was just going to put it as the very next thing after this.
Well, you're
Maybe you
amending
want me to.
you're technically, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I am too.
You're having,
Excuse me, Donna.
yes,
Hey, guys, I'm trying to keep you all muted when one person is talking. Mr. Bass, I think our feedback is coming from your audio. I think it might be a little too high. So as one person is talking, and if I mute you, it's because we're getting a kickback from you. So as one person that's talking, you guys stay muted for me, okay?
thank you, Ms. Smith. So you're voting to amend your agenda, and then you would have to approve the agenda as amended. And so it's kind of a two-step process.
All right,
So-
the motion's on the floor. We need a second.
Well, I'm just trying to clarify the
Gonna bring
motion.
it to that. Okay.
Right. So because your bullet points aren't numbered.
All right.
So I'm trying to seek clarity as to where you want to add in you want it right after the approval of the agenda, before the approval of the minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so a motion is on the floor to amend the agenda to add the election of officers after the approval of the agenda, but before the approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Somebody.
I second.
Thank you.
And Mr. Davis, that was a second by Mr. Davis. And again, I apologize if we can't see your face, Mr. Davis. So when you get ready to speak, you have to actually announce who you are. It's kind of quirky and goofy, but it's a rule based on these remote meetings. I do apologize for that. So we had a motion by Ms. Kulik and a second by Mr. Davis, and we will proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Favorette, if you can call the roll call for the vote, please.
Okay. Mr. Bass? Do you agree to the motion?
He's unmuting. You're still muted, Mr. Bass. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Bass, do you
So,
say yea or nay to the motion?
what is this button on?
I'm sorry, Mr. Bass, your video feed is breaking in and out.
Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, it's still unclear. Your video is breaking up.
Video's breaking up. Okay.
We see you, but your transmission is garbled.
Okay. Let me see if I can switch locations. Just bear with me for a second.
Billy Joe, you can move on while we wait for Mr. Bass to get situated.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ray,
Aye.
Ms. Diane? Ms. Coolidge?
You'll need to unmute, Ms. Kulik. Ms. Kulik, you'll need to unmute.
Ms. Coolidge, can you hear us?
You need to unmute.
Okay,
There you go.
all right, aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
and Ms. Nightfall.
Aye.
Okay, the motion, is the motion now on the floor for discussion, or did we vote it in?
I have to go back to Mr. Bass.
Mr. Bass.
Can you hear us now, Mr. Bass? Mr. Bass, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What is your
No.
vote?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
What in the, I know this is crazy. I couldn't hear it.
Your transmission is still garbled, Mr. Bass.
Could he just raise his hand?
That's fine.
Just a thumbs up or a thumbs up or, There you go. Can that count?
It really is preferred to have the, at least audio, yay or nay.
Mr. Bass, can you try one more time? Is that yay or nay on the motion?
No problem. Yeah.
Perhaps maybe you can call in and not have the video. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Mr. Bass, if you turn your video off. You can turn your sound back on, turn your video off, and let's see if that helps with the transmission.
Maybe he could just text his vote.
Well, he's still muted. So maybe he is trying to say something, but he's muted at this stage.
Oh, geez. So what do we do?
Well, if he can maybe call in, perhaps. Other than that, let's see, we do have 1, 2, 3. We still have 4, so we still have a quorum.
My recommendation, Donald, please weigh in, but if Mr. Bass is having audio and video problems, I'm thinking we should either pause and/or figure out a backup plan to reschedule to be able to give him the ability, yay and nay, like anybody else.
He did put his, can I say something?
He did a thumbs up.
I don't think that will fly with the current statutes and procedures in place for virtual meetings. There's certain things that we have to abide by. And Donald, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think a thumbs up or thumbs down is going to get it.
You know, it's interesting, after all these meetings that we've had by remote means, I've never had that come up, but it does say in the statute that it has to be by roll call. And so when I think of roll call, I think of an auditory response to that rather than a visual. I know that's a technical thing, but if we're making sure that there is an audio response, and we're equally saying that those that can't be viewed have to announce their name before they give a response, you know, by audio, I think we have to follow that process. So I would say that it has to be by auditory response, particularly because we don't know if the member can hear us. If we can't hear the person who's, you know, speaking, maybe they're trying to say that they can't hear us. We don't know.
Correct.
Can we do it by telephone?
Yes. He
Oh.
Hey, can y'all hear me now?
Yes. Awesome.
I had to get on my cell phone. I don't know what's going on.
All right. I'm muting Billy Joe. Mr. Bass is with us if you want to continue.
Okay, Mr. Bass, what is your vote on the motion?
I apologize. What was the notion for?
So the motion that was on the floor is to add to the agenda the election of officers after the approval of the agenda, but before the approval of the minutes. The
Okay.
motion was made by Ms. Kulik and seconded by Mr. Davis.
I'll say yay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bass.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that passes unanimously. And so then is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? I'm sorry, Ms. Ray, I'm stepping on your toes.
No, please. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we amend the agenda and include the election. Am I saying it right?
It's to approve the agenda as already amended with, we just amended it to add the election. So it's to
What he just
approve the,
said.
right, to approve the agenda as amended.
Yep. I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion been made by Ms. Kulik. Is there a second?
I motion.
Second by Mr. Bass. Is any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, go to roll call vote. Ms. Viverette, if you will, call the roll regarding that motion.
Okay. Mr. Bass,
Aye.
Ms. Ray,
Aye.
Ms. Kulik,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
and Ms. Nightfall.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and that motion passes unanimously. And now we will go to the elections, and I will turn your attention to hang on. All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will now go to the elections, turning your attention to your bylaws under section 5, officers and city staff liaison. At the December PCRC meeting, and again, that was continued from your December meeting to tonight's meeting, the membership shall elect a chairperson and vice chairperson. These officers shall serve a one-year term beginning upon their election. The chairperson shall be responsible for the conduct of each meeting. The vice chairperson shall perform the duties of the chairperson in the event of the absence of a chairperson. So based upon that, the way the elections work is as follows. The chair calls for nominations. For example, what could be, and Ms. Ray, if you'd like for me to, I can drive all of this, but the chair would call for nominations, such as nominations are now in order for the office of chair. Nominations are then made from those members. So, I nominate X or Y. The chair repeats the nomination and asks for further nominations. After no more nominations are forthcoming, the chair declares the nominations closed. After nominations are closed, then there is a vote. When more than one nominee, you vote in the order in which nominees were nominated. As soon as one of the nominees receives a majority vote, the chair declares him elected, him or her elected, and no votes are taken on the remaining nominees for that office. So if you would like for me to, Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and.
I would.
Okay.
I'm actually getting what I think is an emergency call. I have a sister who's terminally ill and her daughter's trying to call me. So I would just prefer you go ahead, and I'm going to stick with it to the end of the meeting. And then I'll go make my call. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Excuse me, Donald.
Yes,
I'm sorry. We skipped one thing that we have to do. We have to have a motion to approve the minutes from December meeting.
Right. The committee elected to amend the agenda to have the elections and then do the minutes approval. So kind of they amended it to have the elections prior to the approval of the minutes.
Correct. So now we have to vote on the minutes from December.
No, ma'am. That will come after the election.
That will come after the election.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay. Nominations are now in order for the office of chair for the Police Community Relations Committee. Are there any nominations?
Yes,
Nominate.
All right, Mr. Bass.
Is this for chair, correct?
Yes,
I nominate, Diane Kulik.
okay. Diane Kulik is nominated. Are there any further nominations?
yeah, first of all, I decline.
Okay, Ms. Kulik has declined. Are there any nominations?
Okay, I would like to nominate Carol Naipaul. And I want to say something about her. She has been with PCRC, I don't know if it's 10 years, I mean, off and on, but stuck with us. And she's Rose's representative and has been so committed to this PCRC that I think she would do a great job. And you better vote for yourself, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Naipaul is nominated. Are there any further nominations?
I would like to nominate Mr. Bass for the position of chair.
Mr. Bass is also nominated. Are there any further nominations? If not, if without objection, I declare the nominations now closed. Now, again, we vote in the order that the individuals were nominated. Those in favor of Ms. Naipaul for office, say aye by roll call vote. Those opposed, say no. And so, Ms. Viverette, if you can proceed to the roll call for the office of chair for Ms. Naipaul.
okay. Ms. Kulik,
I vote yes for Carol Naipaul.
Mr. Bass,
I vote yes.
Mr. Davis,
I vote yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
and Ms. Naipaul. Do I call on her to vote on her for herself?
Yes, ma'am, she gets to vote.
Okay. Ms.
Yes,
Naipaul?
yes.
And that is unanimous. Okay, moving to the office of vice chairperson for the Police Community Relations Committee. Nominations are now in order for the office of vice chairperson.
Somebody.
At least I would like to vote Mr. Bass again, simply because I think he has a wide knowledge, and he would be a great help in the community. And I personally would like to work with him.
Okay, Mr. Bass is nominated. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, without objection, I declare the nominations closed. All those in favor of Mr. Bass for the office of vice chairperson, say aye. Those opposed, say no. Ms. Viverette, if you proceed with a roll call vote.
My apologies, I was muted. Ms. Kulik,
Oh, aye.
Mr. Bass,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Ray,
Aye.
and Ms. Naipaul.
Aye.
Thank you.
And now we're on to the approval of the minutes. And it's a bit odd because the elections are in the process that we've done. either Ms. Ray can take it over for purposes of this meeting, or Ms. Naipaul can take it over for purposes. I'll let y'all sort that one out, but
I prefer that Miss Naipaul take it
okay.
if she's willing.
Yes, ma'am.
I really need to go make a phone call.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Naipaul, if you would proceed with the
And I may be back. I'll leave it open.
yes, ma'am. Approval of the minutes.
Congratulations to the new officers.
Thank
Good
you,
team.
Ms. Ray.
Sure.
I'd like to put a motion on the table to move for the approval of the minutes.
I have a correction.
Okay, there's a correction to the minutes. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Coolidge.
Or I want to use a different word, addition.
Okay.
I volunteered to put on, or I picked to have gangs for February, but my original pick was to have the canine unit put on a meeting in May or June outside, and I ran that by PJ Conley, and he said he thinks that would be fine and that he will be attending. So since I picked the canines first, and then we needed somebody for February, so I just said I would do it too.
Is that a request to clarify the minutes as the minutes are printed? Okay, can you point us to where that is in the minutes that you're asking to have amended?
It wasn't in there at all, but it took place at the meeting.
Okay. Where are you suggesting to place that in the minutes?
I would have to mess up and leave my screen that I'm on in order to find a place for it.
Okay. And so here's what I would propose that we do.
Okay.
Is my understanding, if I'm correct, Ms. Smith, is that this particular meeting is recorded. Is that correct? Tonight's meeting?
That's correct, Donald.
Okay, thank you. And so what I would propose to do is, Ms. Kulik, if you could restate what you're asking to have amended to included, and then see if Ms. Viverette can go back and listen, and include that for the committee's consideration at the next meeting. That would probably be the cleanest thing. You can certainly amend it tonight, but I'm just concerned with making sure the wording is correct.
Okay, do you just want me to say it again?
Yes, ma'am.
When we were talking about future meetings, and each board member or commission member is supposed to pick a topic, I volunteered, I think first, for the May or June meeting to have the canine unit put on a meeting outdoors, maybe at the church. And then nobody volunteered for February. So I volunteered I'm not sure how to word it, but do the gangs meeting for February. And then I also want to say I talked to PJ to check to see if we could do the canine outdoors in May or June, and he thought it would be fine.
Can I say something, Donald?
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, I brought it up that I was going to bring it up to and talk to PJ about, doing the in-person, like I was talking to Sergeant Stoffel about. I did, and things can change, but I did confirm that by the end of February or the 1st of March, they will start letting committees start meeting in person again. I think that's maybe what Diane's talking about.
Well, I think what Ms. Cool is she's just trying to make sure that her requests for additions to the minutes are accurately reflected in the minutes.
Gotcha. Okay. Sure.
And so I think if I have found the correct or the area, it would be somewhere at the bottom of page 3 of the minutes to add and include that information in there. So what I would propose is that Ms. Viverette listen to that meeting along with tonight's meeting and make sure that that is accurately reflected in the meeting, in the minutes, and then bring the minutes back for consideration at the next meeting. And
Yes,
so
I
if
can make
that's
those
okay,
corrections.
we could do that by really kind of consent without the need for a specific vote on that. Unless you would feel better for a vote, and might as well go ahead and do that. Is there a motion to direct Ms. Viverette to listen to the minutes from the last meeting and tonight's meeting and to accurately reflect the requested amendments as proposed by Ms. Kulik for inclusion in last month's minutes for consideration at the February meeting of the PCRC?
I make that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Kulik. Is there a second?
I,
But then don't we
Second by-
discuss,
Second by Ms. Nightpaul. Any discussion?
if that's, I didn't hear, you said there were 2 corrections. I'm sorry, I had to run out.
Yeah, one was in reference to that I volunteered the canine unit.
And
to
the
have
other
that-
was the
and
gang.
the gangs.
Okay, if there's no other corrections but those 2 and we all agree, it seems kind of hard on Ms. Viverette to ask her to listen all the way through that whole hour again. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Well, I think she could probably kind of find out where that was
find it.
in the meeting. It shouldn't be that. I wouldn't think it would be that hard. I mean,
Okay. Well, I'm just trying not to make work for anybody that it's not necessary. So,
And it was separated. I want to say that to Billy Joe. I volunteered the canine unit and then Betsy asked after that, would somebody take on February? And that's when I volunteered that, I think.
all right, that's all my discussion. If nobody else has any.
any other discussion?
Mr. Phillips, did I hear right when Mr. Bass said that he had spoken to the mayor about the meetings coming up? Is it possible that we are going to have indoor meeting that we can possibly meet with social distancing?
I don't know. I would say, and I appreciate your comment, but that particular comment's not really germane to this particular motion. So maybe that's something that we could discuss that if we can kind of get through this, and then maybe we could talk about that part, if you don't mind.
All right, no problem.
Any other discussion on the motion? And I'm, Ms. Viverette, were you able to record who seconded that? Because I can't remember.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Mr. Phillips?
Ms. Kulik made the motion, and who seconded it?
Miss Nightfall, mate.
Okay, thank you. And so any other board discussion on that? Hearing none, if we can proceed to a roll call vote for that.
Okay, Miss Nightfall,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bass,
Yes.
Miss Kulik,
Yes,
and Miss Ray.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Viverette. And guys, I really apologize, as some of this is the remote meeting platform. And the housekeeping matters that we have to take care of. So I do appreciate your time and patience on that. And so with that, I'll turn it back to Ms. Naipaul for continuation of the agenda items.
Okay, on the next, we have the mission statement for the committee and the purpose of the meeting. Is it okay for someone to read that, seeing that I don't have my glasses right now?
I have it if you want me to read it.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Green.
All right, the police committee relations committee mission statement. Serve as a liaison between the community and the police, to serve as an advocate for programs, ideas, and methods to improve relations between the community and the police, to disseminate information to the community and the city with regard to the state of relations between the community and the Greenville Police Department, to assist and promote the community education efforts concerning safety awareness and community and individual awareness.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ray.
You're welcome.
Seeing that we already had our discussion about the podcast, are there any questions or concern or expressions at this time? Anyone has a question? Anyone would like to share something with us, voice their opinion, any concerns?
Is Mark Holtzman still with us?
Yeah, the chief's window's up. Yeah, he's coming on, Miss Coolidge.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Chief. So it would be much better if you explained this. Gosh, I don't even have it in front of me. Ask the council to consider in reference to, wait, I do. Yay. Seeking changes to the firearms rule. And I felt like that should be explained.
Sure, no problem. I think it's good information for the committee to have. In the past, all the city ordinances we were capable of filing a criminal charge on any of the city ordinances. And this one in particular, so a lot of them were civil offenses where it wouldn't go to jail. It wasn't really a crime. It was a civil offense, but several of them on routine basis, the police would charge with a criminal offense, a misdemeanor criminal offense, and take it to the court. So discharging a firearm in the past had always been in that category. So if someone discharged a firearm in the city limits, because we live so close to one another here in the city, it is against the city code to discharge a gun in the city limits. And this past December, the legislature made a rule change that required, that basically took away the ability to charge with a criminal offense any of the city code violations unless the city code was updated and specifically said that a particular offense, in this case, the discharge of a firearm, was a criminal misdemeanor. So what we had to do was go back. We took a look at the city code. It's several hundred pages long, and we identified the first one that we really needed for public safety, which was shooting guns in the city. We want to make sure that that continues to stay illegal, and both a civil penalty and a criminal penalty for doing that because of the dangerous nature of that. So that's what we introduced that idea to council, that we're bringing this first item back for them to consider. And we'll do what has to take place next is a first and second reading officially. So this is a way of sharing information with the public about what we're going to do. And I think it's important to do that. If you're going to make something a crime, we need to give the time for the public to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it. Essentially, in this case, what we're doing is we're going to basically reinstate what we had before December of last year. So again, for years and years, if somebody discharged a firearm in the city limits, they could be charged with a criminal misdemeanor and be taken to court. In December, that changed with the legislation change, where the legislator wanted to kind of reset the bar with all the city codes And so now we just go back and we identify the ones that are important to us. Discharging of firearms in the city limits is important to us. And so that's what we brought for consideration for council. And they'll get a chance, I believe at the end of January and early February, to listen to it and then take a council action on it to reinstate the misdemeanor penalty. How's that?
You're muted, Ms. Coolett. You're muted, Ms. Coolett.
Sometimes you can just hit that space bar, Diane, and that unmutes it real quick for you. Try that. Nope.
Okay. So what I was saying was, as a president of a neighborhood association, I get all kinds of questions. So I'm asking this ahead of time. So where you said gun cannot be fired, I hope I'm saying it right, within the city
Right.
limits, does that include BB guns? Does that include rifles and handguns? Is this all guns?
It's all firearms and weapons. I got to look at the actual charge. I don't have it directly in front of me regarding air pistols, which would be, I guess, BB guns. Donald, if you can, Donald's going to bail me out on that one. So, and I think it's important too to understand that we're not required officers can still use discretion.
Right.
And so, you know, I have kids at the house too, you know, if they got a hold of an air pistol and we're outside, you know, that's a time to educate. If they're damaging property, you could charge them with a civil offense and require them to, you know, pay a fine. And, you know, we're going to save in general the criminal part of that. So you can either do a civil or a criminal, and you can pick. And so we just sort of, you know, really apply judgment and discretion in that, in what we're dealing with. I give you enough time, Donald, to bail me out.
Right. Yes, sir. So essentially right now, as it stands, without this session law that has taken place, is essentially a violation of this provision is only a misdemeanor. So with the proposal, it is going to be the misdemeanor that it always was. In addition to that, it can be a civil penalty also, as an option, as an enforcement option. And so to answer back to your question about the pellet guns, it shall be unlawful for any person to fire, discharge any firearm, including guns, rifles, pistols, pellet guns, air guns, or air rifles within the city. So it would include that. And then it also has a provision in there about any person who shall knowingly and willfully permit his or her minor child under 18 years of age to do that would be guilty of the misdemeanor. And so those provisions, the language did not change. It's just making sure that the penalties are in conformance with this new statute that the chief was referring to.
Thank you.
One question, when you refer to civil penalty, is that equal to a fine?
That's right. So the couple of things to keep in mind. If you charge somebody criminally and there are criminal costs associated with that, so those costs would be paid as a court cost. If you get a speeding ticket, for example, you pay court costs, plus you may pay a fine, and that is a criminal penalty and a criminal fine. This is a civil penalty separate and apart from the criminal charges and the criminal fine. This is a civil penalty, very similar, and it really it's non-criminal, and it's exactly like, for example, the red light camera ticket. It's a civil penalty that you pay.
Will they ever be coupled together?
They can be. Yes, ma'am.
We are past our hour. Do we want to keep going? I mean, we've been on almost an hour and 10 minutes.
It's the chair and the committee members' wishes.
It doesn't matter to me.
So real fast, before Mr. Davis, I know, Gary, you're kind of here new, first time on here. Do you have any questions of the group?
No, I'm just kind of listening and kind of soaking it all in and, see where I can give input and go from there.
All right, cool. And I appreciate you, Gary, for serving. I really do. The rest of the members will tell you, and I appreciate all of y'all.
Yeah. Sorry about this being my first meeting. We're going through the foster care process, so we're everything's virtual now. So,
Yes. Yes.
So it just happened. This meeting was the same one as our other meeting. So I'm here and hopefully I can give some input in the future. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, real fast, Miss Naipaul or Miss Ray, I'll let y'all finish it out. Couple things. One is, you got really good questions. If there's questions you want me to research ahead of time, email them to me, and I'll see if I can find the experts to answer the question. If there's anything you want to know by February. February, I know we had talked about games, Miss Coolidge. I'll reach out to one of the gang officers and see their availability, see if they can Zoom in and just give everybody an update of what's going on here in Greenville. So I'll work on that.
And I want to work with you or with them. I left a message. Is it White that is now head of the gangs?
Yes, ma'am. Sergeant White is the gang sergeant. Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I do want to talk to him. Just go over some things that I would like to have covered.
Okay.
So I will be getting in touch with him.
Okay, awesome. And I'll follow up on our end too. And
Right.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. I wrote down a bunch of questions. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
No, yes, ma'am. Mr. Davis, I know first time, I tell everybody, reach out to your community, reach out to your representation, see if they have any questions, see if they have any topics. We're really trying to, thanks to Mr. Bass and everybody else, if we get to the point we can get back in person, just start preparing, because I really want to go into your district, take the show on the road. So just let us know if there's any questions, comments, concerns. I will tell you, Gary, if you know anybody that's interested in being police, we are hiring. We will send them to BLIT. We will pay them to go to BLIT. So please reach out, police and intelligence educators. We're looking for everybody.
Go get some rest.
Is that
All
me?
right, girl. Bye.
I don't know who that was. All right. So thank you, Gary. Sonny, really fast. You got anything for the betterment? Any questions, anything you want us to work on? You're still on mute, Sonny.
Okay. So anyway, the biggest thing was, trying to figure out, when we could go back, get the community involved in these meetings instead of doing the Zoom like we talked about. You really can't touch as many people as you want to. And like I said, I did communicate with Mayor Connolly last week, and he said that the goal is, by the end of February, the 1st of March, that, the committees can go back to in person. And of course, a lot of things can happen between now and then, but that's said that the goal was. So hopefully that'll happen.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Miss Betsy Ray, anything for the, any last comments, anything you wants to work on, any information?
No, I just appreciate people willing to step up and be the officers. I didn't mention it up. I'd already told you earlier, I've got so many family problems right now, and I'm going to be a member, and I'm going to be a good member. But I will be off, I think, in October. So I'm just thrilled. We've got some great leadership right in our immediate future, and look forward to the rest of my time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Hey.
you.
Okay.
Sergeant Stockbot.
Yes, sir.
Donald, have y'all heard anything from District 4? What's going on?
I have not, and that would be something we need to check in with maybe the clerk's office and see what's going on with that. So maybe that's something that we can, there can be some type of report or something. at the next-
Valerie
I've
and I
got-
have talked. Can I say something?
Sure.
Mr. Cherry moved to Winterville, and he's no longer in Rick's district.
Okay.
That's
Thank
what the deal. Yep.
Thank you for telling me that. I've got two applicants for District 4.
Good.
Very, very good applicants that are interested. Donald, do I need to just go to the city clerk to turn these in, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so with Valerie Suregar, she's the city clerk, and Miss Smith is the deputy city clerk. And they can, point you in the right direction as far as getting those applications in.
Now I know that they meet. What was it? Is it tomorrow night, or was it last night? I can't remember. Didn't the city council meet last?
They'll meet again, I think, Thursday night.
So I probably need to get this down there before Thursday night.
They
I
have
guess
to fill out an application.
to get the ball moving.
Yeah, the clerk's office can answer your questions. You may want to call them maybe
I'll just-
tomorrow. Yes,
I'll-
sir.
The ball one. That's fine.
So Sonia brings up a really good point that I really can't ask enough is he's bringing people to the committee, but there again, drive out to your community, the people that you're representing, and get them involved. Like, we're beat the bandwagon. We want to get more people involved. Yes, we're virtual now, but if we start preparing now for March, April to meet in person, then we can go ahead and start recruiting people to come to the meetings. Because, and Miss Betsy Ray read the mission statement. If you really read the mission statement, sentence by sentence, word by word, it is our mission to get out there in the community and be that conduit between the community and the police department, so we can have the conversations and we can talk and interact. So I just really implore y'all to really get people involved as much as you can.
The one thought I've had listening to all of this is that the city, somebody help me with this. Does the city council have to vote to allow this to happen? Or is PJ just basically saying, I hope that by then, or has it already been set? Because if you reach out in the community and you get a bunch of people ready to come and a location and all of that, and it didn't happen, we get some other variant or whatever, I would really rather see it be in writing that we are now free to meet in person.
Right. No, understandably, and maybe I default a little bit. Hopefully, at some point, we got to get back to normal. So I guess I'm just.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't want to get out over our skis, as they say.
So understand completely, Miss Ray. I guess it's more of doing some upfront advertising. So when we are going back in person, we've reached out to all those people and we're like, all right, we're meeting in person, come on, you know? So that's all it is, just some advertising, recruiting, as you would say. So, Ms. Naipaul, I defer to the brand new chairman. Congratulations. You want to take us to the home stretch?
Yeah, before I do, I just want to say thank you to Miss Ray for stepping in and helping out, as well as Miss Kulik, and to Mr. Bass and Mr. Davis for everything that you guys are doing. I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Bass, especially as a vice chair. And I would like us to keep that unity. I also want to say thank you to Mr. Phillips, who came forth and helped me out with his wealth of knowledge. It did help me to start the ball rolling. And Sergeant Staffelbach, can you somehow get in touch with me through email so we can talk, or a phone call or something? Seeing that we have this topic on, I think, gangs coming up next month. I just received a packet today with some photo pictures of some vandalism that some gangs are doing in my neighborhood. So I would have to talk with you, but thank you, Mr. Phillips, for directing me, and your advice really helped me. I have touched base. I just have 2 more people to talk to, but I just want to say thank you to all of you, and I'm hoping that we can meet in person very soon. And I appreciate everybody's contribution, and thank you for giving me a chance. God knows it's the first time ever, and I would like to do the very best I can do, and I'm sure I cannot do this alone without all of you help. So a strong support is needed. So thank you yet again.
Cool, awesome. Chief, you want the last word?
I always speak. Thanks to everybody on here. This is one of the toughest committees to do on a Zoom, and so you all get an extra medal for that. We're going to get together face-to-face real soon, and we're going to have some productive meetings, I know, with the ideas on this group right here. I'm looking forward to this year and for clear weather ahead. So thank you all for your participation.
Ms. Naipaul, the ball's in your court.
Okay, thank you, Chief, for your contribution tonight as well, and to Ms. Hunter. We really appreciate the wealth of knowledge. And so if there is nothing on the agenda again, and does anybody have any more questions, concerns? If not, we would set a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourn.
I second.
Okay, I think that's it. So Thanks.
Motion by, stand by, sorry. Motion by Ms. Ray, second by Ms. Kulik, and we have to go to a roll call vote unless there's any discussion on it. Yes, Ms. Kulik, I'm sorry, that's the rules of the remote rules. So Ms. Viverette, if you can give us a roll call vote on that, please.
Oh my God.
Okay, yes, sir. Ms. Naipaul,
yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bass,
Yes.
Ms. Kulik,
Yes.
and Ms. Ray.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
you.